the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
Changes that we've seen, but frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Hey guys, Brad here with another breaking story because, boy, it's a bad day to be Jimmy Kimmel, the alleged comedian and liberal icon, because his show has effectively just been canceled, really. And there's so much to unpack about this. There's First Amendment arguments. There's his commentary on Charlie Kirk that was totally wrong, that seems to have played a role in his ultimate downfall. First, though, just the facts about what happened. We've got reporting here from CNBC. ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel Live off air, quote, indefinitely over Charlie Kirk comments. ABC said it was pulling the Jimmy Kimmel Live show off the air indefinitely after controversial comments by its host about the slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kirk was killed last week in a shooting while speaking at a Utah university. FCC Commission Chair Brendan Carr suggested ABC's broadcast license was at risk from Kimmel's statements about Tyler Robinson, the accused killer of Kirk. Nexstar Media Group, which is seeking FCC approval for a $6.2 billion merger with Tegna, earlier said company-owned and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC television network, will preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show. So that is fancy industry speak, and there's some details here that don't really matter, for they're going to stop airing it, and the show is effectively being canceled, at least for now, indefinitely suspended, because of the tremendous backlash that Jimmy Kimmel has faced after airing a bizarre and kind of fact-free monologue about Charlie Kirk, who was, of course, just killed in a horrifying political assassination. We actually do have the clip that seems to have got Kimmel canceled. Let's roll that here.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
So look, I don't find this funny. I find it kind of gross. But hey, comedy, different folks for different comedy, for different people. I feel like roasting Trump over this, I don't get it. I don't relate to it. But hey, apparently some people like this guy. They find him entertaining. Okay, it's a free country. The main problem people had with this is the first part, where he implies, this aired Monday night, to his audience that the killer was actually MAGA and that MAGA's in denial over it. That was not factually true, didn't reflect the facts on the ground at that time, and obviously is kind of sick to like push misinformation about a political attack that just happened and attempt to basically say like MAGA is in denial over it when actually you're the one pushing misleading narratives about how things are unfolding. So yeah, that was really problematic. And then he went back on air Tuesday night and did not address it, did not do a correction, did not tell his audience of millions that actually, you know, this is a shooter who was left-wing, who had a trans roommate, who specifically said that they targeted Kirk because of his hate. So there was a clear ideological valence to this. And Jimmy Kimmel denied it, gaslit us, and kind of victim blamed the MAGA movement immediately after the slaying of one of its icons. So I find it gross, but it's a free country. You can say what you want. Apparently, though, the pressure campaign against them has worked. And it's important to note that this is not just a market response, right? Because it's hard to know exactly, but I suspect that the Jimmy Kimmel Show is not, in fact, profitable. The ratings are not what they used to be for late night in general. And so if the executives at Disney and ABC had really just said, we're going to end this show. It doesn't make sense to keep doing this. What he said about Charlie Kirk, just another example of crossing the line. We're going to pull the plug on this. That would be one thing. I really wouldn't care. I really just would not have any issue with that at all. But the context here that people need to understand is that literally just earlier today, the Trump administration threatened to revoke their broadcast licenses if Jimmy Kimmel wasn't pulled off the air, quite explicitly. Here's a clip of FCC Chairman Brendan Carr on the Benny Johnson show today. Watch this.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC. I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
So this is extraordinarily concerning to me, because if these companies want to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel because he's not funny anymore, because he says stuff that's not true, because his ratings are down, because his show's not profitable, great. I don't care. You don't have a right to a late night comedy show. That's just the market responding. But once the government starts putting its thumb and pressuring these companies to do its bidding, to take a specific critic off air, I mean, that brings you into serious free speech and freedom of the press violation territory. That is not what you should want if you're somebody who really appreciates the firewall between the government and the press and what we can say and do and publish. The FCC is not supposed to revoke licenses or threaten licenses over First Amendment protected expression, over disagreements, even in factual disagreements, right? It is not a crime to broadcast factually incorrect information, especially when done so unintentionally or unknowingly or in any sort of debated or disputed political context. If it was, frankly, basically every major network would have been pulled off air by now. But there's a level of government coercion or threatening that is going on here that I find disturbing, that I would object to, and I think most of us would if this was some progressive president or progressive administration doing it. So I object to it the same way if a Republican is doing it. They should have just said, their job is very simply to just offer these licenses to people who are companies that are doing the things the licenses are for, the broadcasting. And then it's supposed to be up to the viewers to decide, up to you, not the government to decide, oh, those people aren't allowed to because they say that, they're not allowed to have a license. Because we don't like what they said about this, they're not allowed to have a license. That is a form of censorship. The First Amendment is supposed to enshrine viewpoint neutrality, so the government can't punish you for your perspective, can't take revenge on you for saying things, even inaccurate things, even deeply offensive things. That is supposed to be an important protection. So on that front, I find this concerning. Guys, I also want to include this statement from FIRE, the Nonpartisan Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. Ari Cohn, counsel to FIRE, says, The government pressured ABC and ABC caved. The timing of ABC's decision on the heels of the FCC chairman's pledge to the network to do this the easy way or the hard way tells the whole story. Another media outlet withered under government pressure, ensuring the administration will continue to extort and enact retribution on broadcasters and publishers who criticize it. We cannot be a country where late-night talk show hosts serve at the pleasure of the president, but until institutions grow a backbone and learn to resist government pressure, that is the country we are. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he's been funny for years. And if they just chose to get rid of him, I'd have no issue with that at all. But the fact that the Trump administration is explicitly pressuring companies to get one of their critics taken off the air like this, and then they're immediately caving, I find that disturbing, personally. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe for more breaking news and updates. And do hit that like button while you're at it. Also remember to check out my podcast, Brad vs. Everyone, where I take on internet insanity, media drama, and political news, all from an independent perspective. With that, guys, I'll have more content for you real soon.